Welcome to Worthy the Podcast, where we have conversations about what it means to feel worthy and what happens when we don't. I'm your host, Jessica Raimondi. Okay, everybody, welcome back to Worthy. I get to sit here today with somebody I love, a dear friend and my acting coach and mentor. Her name is Violet Tcherkin. So she is, Violet, I'm going to introduce you and give you a nice little bio here. So singer, actor, dancer, and founder of the Tcherkin Studios, which is Miami's only accredited Chubbuck Acting Method headquarters, and voted #1 acting studio by Miami New Times. Congratulations, by the way, and welcome to Worthy. I'm so happy you're here.
So happy to be here with you.
Can you believe you're doing this? I know.
Spoken about it for a while, and it's just
it.
so amazing that you've come this far. I love it.
Well, this is a big, working with you and in our acting classes has really just given me the confidence to be able to really go after what I want. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful I get to talk to you today and we get to share your story with the audience. Yep. Yay. Okay. So much I want to talk about. First of all, our story is actually kind of cool too, because your studio is based around Ivanna Chubbuck's method of acting. And ironically, in 2004, when I lived in Los Angeles, my mother bought me this book, Power of the Actor.
Oh, wow.
Right, probably right when it came out. I think it came out in 2004.
That's correct.
Not yet.
First version, yeah.
And she was like, go find the studio. Yeah.
No way.
I think she probably saw it on like the, Good Morning America or something. I'm not sure what publicity was done at the time, but my mom was very like wise like that. So she's like, this is the best. She's the best. Go find her and go find her studio. So I did. And I ended up taking classes with Chris at the studio. I can't remember his last name.
Yeah. Teddy Bear, yes.
He was wonderful. And the method of acting was so incredible to me. It was the first time as an actress that I was having real visceral, like in the moment, real time memories, feelings that were coming out through my performance. And it just touched me so much, and so I think I spent like a couple of years there.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
If you were there.
Yeah. No, it was off and on. It was a couple of years, definitely at least a couple of years. I can't remember exactly how long.
Yeah.
And then I kind of moved on and did other things. So cut to me moving to Miami permanently over the last few years and deciding like I really need this creative outlet again. I hadn't been in acting class and I don't even know. Yeah, since, mid 2000s, right? And I just happened to be looking online on Google and there you are. And you had just opened.
Yeah, I was fairly new because I couldn't remember how did you get to me? I was thinking about how did I get you? Because I remember us having that moment of you came to the studio, we're sitting at this table and we were catching up on like, how did you get involved with the Chubbuck Technique? And then we had this little kind of intro class, and from there it's history.
Oh my gosh, it was crazy. So, but my favorite thing was I remember we did a call first, and I was actually, I don't know why I remember this, but I was picking somebody up at the train station, and you called, and it was just the fact that it was a Chubbuck method, which was again one of something that I'll always remember. That was like had a profound effect on me. And we're here in Miami, and it's not like this is a huge acting mecca,
exactly.
And but you were just like, we kind of were like kindred spirits, like right on the phone, and you made me feel so comfortable. And then yes, I came in for a 101, and we did the monologue and went over the steps and things like that. So and then a couple of years in your studio taking classes. It was just such a fun experience. So there's so much I want to get to with you. So first and foremost, can you explain to us what the Ivanna Chubbuck technique kind of is?
Yes, with pleasure. So it is a 12-step acting methodology that is based and rooted in clinical psychology, behavioral science, and cultural anthropology. And we use trauma. So things like people deprecate themselves with, feel victimized with, not good enough, or alone, or things that have been told, and we live in this limited world of a story that we have created for whatever reason, and we kind of like stop there, right? But in this particular methodology and this technique, we use it not as a means to an end. Okay, this is what happened to me. This is where I ended, and this is where I'm at now, and that I'm stuck, and I don't know how to get out, or I just live surviving and trying to fix life, which is not living. And then we take all that trauma and use it as a fuel to impassion this ability to overcome. And through the work of the 12 steps and through the work of the life of a character, we somehow, like we solve this entire trauma and problems that we have had and we've been stuck in. And the whole idea of this methodology is to come on the other side of this and achieve catharsis and some type of prosperity through the work, and always looking at coming out of victim land and becoming a winner in everything you do. And somehow it's been proven through so many years, in the Los Angeles studio. Ivanna teaches all over the world as well. I study with Ivanna on a weekly basis as an actor as well for years now. And you discover so many things about who you are, and what are the things that made you, in a way, stop being the human being that you were born to be. Stop being what you came here to do, and like complete disempowerment practically. And we use people in our personal lives that we have unresolved issues with. And people get really scared when I say this.
It's my favorite part.
Exactly. It is absolutely.
It's so effective.
And the thing so beautiful about it that people I would love for people to get is that we talk about unresolved issues. So through the work, we get to resolve, through the work of the character, life of the character in the script, we get to resolve these issues for the character. And ultimately, in the most bizarre way, this seeps into your personal life without even you realizing. And what does us using these people, they're the best tool for us. They're really actually helpful as much as we think, okay, I'm going to use the closest people to me, and I might be kind of like triggered by how do I do this without hurting and whatnot. We here
like bring back up something that you're going through. Yeah.
And we bring it back for one and only reason. They are the best tool for us to realize, where did we as people stop being responsible for our own existence,
and almost like blame these people or give them too
blame
much power.
Exactly. And if we keep, usually we work with people that are really, really close to us because there's history involved, and we can go back and
deeper triggers.
Exactly.
Yeah,
deeper triggers. Also, a lot of inner life that we can put into the work of the script. As what it was the most fascinating thing to watch actors is what is going on behind here. And you can kind of catch, like, you don't get engaged with acting that is just words and nothing's coming out, but you are absolutely enamored and you're sitting on the edge of your chair because here's the actor who has so much internal work. And the entire methodology is based on you winning the game.
It's like re-empowering
and winning the game of life, winning the game, through these characters, and winning for the character itself.
Yeah, it's an incredible technique. So can we talk about the 12 steps?
Absolutely.
So you mainly focus, I think in a lot of some of the classes is we get to like the first 4 steps. So can we talk about
yes,
there?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So the first 4 steps, or the first 3 steps, will always belong to the script. And they can be similar to other techniques, like with the Huygens, the Meisners, and the most known one, the Stella Adlers and so forth. And they belong to the script and the character in the script. So the first one is the overall objective. It has to do with what is this character wants, and it's more like a primal need. From the entire script, it starts somewhere. There is an inciting incident that got the character to say, I don't live in this status quo anymore. Done. So I'm going to move into another direction. It's this inciting incident, the moment that the person decides, I don't want to be here anymore. I'm going to transform some other way. And this is both for the writer and directors and the actors, work with this. And they through the analysis, you have to really find out what is the primal need, the very visceral primal need that this character has throughout the entire script. And they're usually very simple. It could be something about, and it's worded in a way that it's kind of like I need absolution of guilt, or I need love, or a soulmate love, or self-worth is one of those that
I need to feel.
And I want to mention something about self-worth because we are talking about.
We are on the Worthy podcast.
For years.
There's no mistakes
there. The very initial book was written, and it had an overall objective and sometimes a scene objective that would say to be validated.
Yes.
And throughout the years of work that Ivanna has done, we realized that, well, that is disempowering. Because you need,
because you're giving that to someone else,
and then you want that validation from somebody else. So I need this from this person, or instead of, now we have twisted it to be, which is the self-worth. I need self-worth because that is the most important thing, that you validate your own self and you have self-worth for you.
That's the reframe of it. Yeah.
Anything else. So that's kind of like what the number one is, what the character absolutely needs viscerally throughout the entire script. And then number two is the scene objectives. So those are like how are the moment to moment to moment in a script that the character serves each scene in order to achieve that. And usually this is always based on wanting something from another person and needing something from another person, and having even sometimes and think about transforming the other person in order for me to get what I want, then to eventually come to the end and earn the right to achieve the need.
Right. So, but in that moment with the scene objective, it's still playing off of the main overall objective of the
always
character.
Connected. Yeah, the scene objective has to serve. Every scene objective has to be the next step to achieve and serve the overall objective. They have to be connected. And then number three is obstacles. And obstacles are usually, we look at the obstacles for the character throughout the entire script. And there are three portions of it. It can be mental, physical, or emotional.
Right. So like belief systems, things like that. What do they say about themselves?
It's often like we make the example like, but this person is pretty, they don't have any obstacles. Not correct.
That could actually be her obstacle.
That is an obstacle.
Yes.
And so all of the things that we think that may not be an obstacle in regular things, this person is successful, and this person is so intelligent, and it's like those are also
right, but they're not taken seriously.
Right. Or like people get intimidated, and so they at the end become alone because I can't, I'm not as smart. I'm never going to reach this level, so I'm not even accepted that way. So we don't even dare get close. So
So those are like mental,
physical. It could be anything that can be literally physical, like and the mentals, like you can have anxiety. There's so many of them, and the book actually, The Power of the Actor, which is a book that Ivanna wrote, has these also a lot of examples of what they can be. And first we figure out the obstacles for the character that you're playing throughout the entire script, and then you look at the scene itself, so the obstacles in the scene, and that's where it gets really cool. Because everything from number 4, and it's a substitutions is number 4, and other techniques have the word substitution. When I worked with people that come from other techniques, and I know what that is, and I'm like, please let me go to the very end of this and let's talk about how similar the substitution, or not at all, because it is very different in this technique than the word used as a substitution and the way it is used in other techniques, right? So substitution and all the way down to the end becomes part of the Chubbuck technique, straight out belonging to the actor and their personal kind of like not only lives, but anything that has to do with their way of being, and their personal triggers and personal traumas and personal relationships with the people that we're going to be using. And then when it comes to obstacles, when you look at the substitution in a scene, then that's where it becomes personal. So if let's say I'm using my mom, for example, an example we're going to make, I'm using my mom and I want my mom to be on my side. That's my scene objective. It's like I need her to be my ally in order for me to achieve self-worth. Okay. Which could be self-worth is an overall objective, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now I need you, Mom, to be my ally.
So the person you're in scene with becomes, you're now substituting for someone that is triggering to you in that, for that need.
Correct.
Okay.
So we go like, and it's like I always ask the question, like, okay, this is the scene objective, and who is the person in your personal life that you absolutely need most this from, desperately, urgently, right now, and what would be the death sentence if you don't get it, right? And that person also has to be the one that is least likely to give it to you, so it creates massive obstacles and
right, which
is another
Mm-hmm.
and usually scenes are always written like this, that I want something, but the other person wants something too that is opposite of what I want. So it's like this yin and yang that happens all the time that makes it almost like a game of football or whatever, that you're like, is it this team is going to win? Is it that team is going to win?
Mm-hmm.
If you're like me, who cheers for no team at all, I am in the bleachers going like, yes, there is. Well, this one is that. It went on that side.
That's a good coach.
She's like, so there's no judgment whatsoever. But the beauty is that every one of these two characters, the two characters are going for something that is beneficial to them,
which makes the scene exciting to watch.
Mm-hmm. We make it in a way that you are going to be rooting for, even with the worst person that you're watching. I want to root for this one. I can make an example of that. I don't know how many people may or may have not watched the morning show.
Okay.
Which is brilliant.
Yeah.
And you have to watch it. You haven't seen it.
It's a great one.
And the guy who plays Corey.
Yes. Oh, you love him, but he's diabolical, right? Yeah.
You can't stop loving him.
You love him so much.
And that's
brilliant.
What a brilliancy. And that's like,
what's funny that you're saying that is that my friends and I are watching Tommy Lies, which is this like horrific, awesome, kind of very addicting TV show on Hulu. We actually have a whole separate text thread about it.
I love it
because we can't see it, but it's getting to be hard to watch in the sense of that we're not rooting for anybody anymore. Mm-hmm. So as unlikable as the characters are, they're now just becoming unlikable in some sense. You know what I mean? And we don't, and so it becomes, and I don't mean to knock it. I actually love the show and think all the actors are absolutely incredible. But it's like there has to be some sort, that character you mentioned in Morning Show, he is the perfect example of like rooting for somebody that you also can't stand and hate and like would never hang out with, but you kind of want to.
Right. Same thing with Breaking Bad is another one of those, it's incredible. And this is what this technique constantly aims to achieve. Greatness in because they are able to, and a lot of these actors that we mentioned now, both Bryan Cranston and then the one that
Billy
Corey was. Yeah, thank you. I can never pronounce his last name properly.
He's a Massachusetts boy as well.
Yeah, yeah. And it's just like you fall in love with them, and you're rooting for them for their badness to actually win. And
we all know that feeling,
and that's what I think makes for good performances and good TV, and in good film, and I watch so much stuff because of what not only I'm obsessed with that, obviously, I'm biased, but also the fact, that I want even this for myself. I want to be that type of actor that does that, and I want my actors to be able to do that. So we constantly aim for greatness. And as I said, I watch a lot what's happening in town here, and so they're good actors and so forth, but that part is missing. So I see a great potential for growth.
Yeah, for sure. Do you get past, like, how often do you in your classes? I know you're reshape. We'll talk about that too. You're kind of reworking your offerings, so to speak. But do you get much past step 4? Because then on to that of past substitution. Those are, the core ones, and being able to master that is really probably how you move forward, I would assume. And the other ones are just...
The other ones are...
you find more fine-tuned.
Fine-tuning everything. But honestly, like, I think the first 4 steps is just to be able to understand and grasp the technique itself. So that's... To answer your question, if people were devoted enough to stick with it...
Yeah.
Because usually what I've encountered in town is like, there's a workshop. I did a workshop for 2 days with this. And this is with any methodology, by the way. It doesn't matter. It's like I always make the example. If you want to be a Michael Jordan, and you cannot be sitting out there and throwing hoops once a month. with your buddies and think that you're going to be Michael Jordan. It just doesn't.
Not going to happen.
And with anything, any profession or any type of even a hobby that you take, you're never going to be good if you just do it this much.
Correct.
So, so I find it difficult because people don't want to stick. It's like, it's a workshop for a weekend. Great, because it's a limited time. I've had actors who have been involved with other techniques. They come out and test it and they go like, I want to do it. But then it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
This technique, it's a lot
of work. So, and just to reiterate, for if we weren't clear, that, these are scene study classes.
Correct.
And so, and the brilliance of actually staying and sticking with it is that you, like what you were saying, is you do get to heal and get to work with so much of what's going on that with your own life. And especially as you get to know your actors, then you're giving scenes. Like, I always would joke, like, did you know what was in my head right now? And you say this about Ivanna too. It's like, how did you give me that scene just at this moment with that I'm going to have to use this substitution for? And it's something I have to deal with now, or that I am confronting in my own life. And how often does that happen?
And exactly. And on that note, I guess one of the biggest differences with the Chubbuck technique as well is that I can't go ahead and go to a roster of scenes that I know that I've seen to go like, oh, okay, she's 20 years old and she's blonde and she's that, or her range is from, I don't know, 17 to 25, the way like usually casting directors would ask and agencies would ask. I can't just go ahead and pick up any scene. Yeah. I have to investigate who you are, where you're stuck, what's going on. And that takes time too, because now you have to learn but like be okay with trusting me, and I get brutal with asking questions about that. Yeah. And it's uncomfortable, right? And then that discomfort has to be, you have to be open and we're free of judgment completely, and we create a space that it's extremely safe. Yeah. And I stand for that 1,000,000%. If I ever hear anyone compromise somebody else's heart, we vow at the beginning, that what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Exactly. Same kind of type of thing.
Well, it's important because we're kind of spilling our
very vulnerable work, and it's very important that people would know that I'm only digging not because I'm going to go to the bar and talk about your life, because really I don't, like, nobody is allowed to be hearing this in the first place, but also that's not the purpose. The point is for me to find out, and I'm looking at people's faces all the time to find out that one word that they would say, or two words that they would say, is like, that's
our reaction. Yeah.
And that's how I choose scenes accordingly, that, and that's how this entire technique is based on. So I can't just go into a roster.
No, it's an incredible investment of time and energy, and something I could not, be more proud of, and also just, encouraging for people. So, okay, so we have this step process. So wait, how did you find Ivanna? Like, how did this technique come into your life?
Do I dare even reveal? Yeah, I will reveal, because that's what I share a lot about myself in these classes. Yes. So so people can literally write a book and probably take me to the grave with everything that comes out of my mouth in these classes about me. Yeah. So I have been involved in the business of ever since I was very young. Like, and I lived over 3 continents in 5 countries, and throughout the path of all that, been involved with this business. And my parents are musicians, and my grandmother was an actor, and so it was kind of always in it. And I grew up with my uncle, who used to develop tiny, small, like those like the black and white movies, and we were like dungeon downstairs where we lived, and then it was all these smells of like all this stuff that he would use, and like alcohols, whatever the heck he would be using. And there I am, like, fascinated by all this.
Where was this?
This was in Bulgaria. I was born in Bulgaria. Yes. So I grew up in Italy. I lived in Iran for some time, and then I moved to Norway. I was there for some time, and then moved here in the early 90s in the United States. And the first thing I did when I moved down here was I had watched all the series of the series Fame, on TV in the 90s or whatever. No, actually 80s, 80s actually, in Italy. And I was glued to the television the whole time. I'm like, I'm going to America. The thing comes from there. So I want to find the Fame school. So I went downtown where Miami-Dade Community College is, and I said, I literally walked inside and I said, where's the Fame school? Where is it?
To like New York.
And they're like, funny enough, they just pointed to the New York School of the Arts, which is down the road. And I literally didn't think that this was even real. And then when she said, I'm like, there is actually a school here like this.
Wow.
Ecstatic. So fast forward, I wasn't able to get into, I got into the school, I auditioned, I got into the school, wasn't able to because I was waiting for my papers to be done and all that stuff.
But you guys came right to Miami then.
Straight to Miami,
Okay.
yeah.
Mhm.
Right after Hurricane Andrew, actually. And, you know, and then I waited for some more years to be settled, you know, like with my documentation and so forth, and then re-enter the school in 97. And then I in college that was, and then finished with my four-year degree in Bachelor of Fine Arts in theater and musical theater, and then started working.
Okay.
And then life took over, and I was, you know, I had a daughter. So then now it was like, wait, I need to support this. And I kind of was on and off in the business of performing at the time. And then my daughter got cast in, she's also in the business, and she got cast in a TV show that was written by James Patterson.
Oh, wow.
Beautiful show. It was like for kids, about kids and with kids. And they will reenact a lot of some beautiful skits. And so she was three years syndicated show there. It was on PBS, actually.
It's amazing.
And yeah, and then one day I was on set, and then a friend, so it was like, you know, the moms will sit together and then and we'll talk. But I was very connected to one of the moms, and she goes like, you know, my daughter is studying in Atlanta with the Chubbuck Technique. So I'm like, oh, great. I had no clue.
Yeah, you're like, cool, that's awesome.
At all. But as a great pretender that I am, I said, of course I do. And I went home. No shame. I went home and I was like, what is that? Started researching. And I read, and I found the book, The Power of the Actor, and I bought it. And I read it it was probably less than a week. And I will never forget, my husband will say to me, I've never said, we've been in bed like this, and I'm reading the book like completely infatuated. And he is not existing on the side.
Yeah.
But then, you know, he used to tell me, like, I've never seen you engage like this with any other book. I read books a lot now, so I've never been engaged like this. I was crying, fell in love with this technique so much because it was simple to read, but so human and so accessible and so real, and so empowering. It was like, oh my God, like, what is that? So with fears literally shaking my legs, I decided to write a letter to Ivanna Chubbuck in Los Angeles.
Oh my gosh.
And I said, I wrote this thing, I was just like pouring my heart out. I'm interested in, please, I don't know what is available, but I want to know how to do this, and I want to be able to teach. I want to first learn it myself, and I want to be able to teach. Is there any possibility?
So you almost knew right away that you also wanted to teach it.
Yes.
Wow.
It was very strange. Yeah.
Wow.
And, I'm thinking, she's never going to even open this email. It's Ivanna Chubbuck. She's one of the most sought coaches in the entire world. I mean, we're talking,
yeah,
the roster of actors she has is insanity.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, thinking it's never going to answer. And one day, boom, this email pops up. And then she's like, oh, I need to know this and this and this. So she asked me a bunch of stuff that I had to answer. And then again, like, oh my God, like infatuated. And it just, you know, when you're in the right place and things just pour out of you and there's no effort.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote all these things and I'm thinking, and of course, because self-worth. It's like, I'm not worthy of this. This is never going to happen. Krypton. I was like, oh, why would she even look at me? This is like up there, I'm down here. All kinds of thoughts. Ding! Like the email. You got mail.
Yeah, literally. Right.
And the first words, I will never forget it. The first words of her email back was, wow, in capital letters. And I just didn't want to read anything else. I'm like crying. Make a long story short, I got invited, and it's only by invite that you actually get to Ivanna Chubbuck. I got invited to participate in this program, to be accredited in this technique. I went to Los Angeles, left my entire family behind for 4 months, and the training is extremely tough. Mm-hmm. We would work 17 hours a day, 1 meal a day, barely just sleeping 3 hours, and you have to participate in every single class that is in Los Angeles in the studio. Chris was one of my teachers as well. So anybody from intro to advanced, and then working with Ivana, eventually Ivana only teaches masters And it was literally like every day and participate.
So you had to go in all of the classes.
Go into every single class, be part of every single teacher that was there, and then coach with them, and as an actor, and sit in every single class. And it's like you literally like
as an audit, or are you actually doing it because you're doing the scenes with her, or you're doing the scenes there as well?
Every single coach, yes, every single one of them. As I said, like in intro classes and then advanced and so forth. Yeah. And then I also got to accredit with the youth program that they have. And there are not many teachers in the entire world that actually do this. And I'm ecstatic to say that we're opening a teenage program now. So then it was like, and it's tough. And the exam that you have to do is practically enclosed doors. And every one of our teachers and coaches will sit in the room. And then you have two actors, and the actors that are on stage are trying to prove that they're good enough now to pass and come to her class. So they're under pressure insanely, and we are under pressure. So you now become Ivanna. That's what happens. So like a coach, of course not her, but you don't really.
Yeah.
And she usually sits in the
high standards. Yeah.
She will sit usually when she coaches. All the coaches sit in the middle, kind of like of the row, the first row of the theater, or so the studio. And this time she would just come last. And the moment she starts coming through the door, his heart starts pounding. And every self-worth comes down to nothing. But but because the technique is so empowering, immediately you go back to, hold on.
Yeah, and she's on your side.
So I actually consider myself very lucky to sometimes being on that level too. Not sometimes, but often. It's like, how? And maybe I'm channeling.
We are.
Who knows?
Definitely.
So then she would come to the side and we'll sit at the very end. And then she would say, I'm not here. Don't worry about anything. I'm not here. You won't hear a word coming out from me. And you're like, okay, great. And then the actors go and then they finish and then you start coaching. And the moment you say the first three words, her voice comes on this side and you're like, but it's the most empowering, symbiotic work where you are there walking out completely transformed. It's the most incredible thing. And it's going to make me cry now because I've always wanted to find, because I've been an artist my entire life and I always wanted to stay in the arts. Mm-hmm. How can I find something that I can give to people that is so incredibly valuable, but stick with the arts? So they empower people to heal through the performing arts in a performing arts way. And I'm saying this because it's invaluable for me. It's the biggest gift of my life. And I want to just point two small things that work together so well. People go to therapy, right? And people who go to therapy, they're asked to do certain things. You work there, and then different therapists are different, but you learn about yourself a lot. But you don't get to physically do it. Practice what is being told, because there's always that fear, like of, okay, I discovered, for example, that I don't like my mom because this and that she's done to me. And in therapy, you're going to have to learn how to kind of deal with it and how to come on the
forget
it. Right? Exactly. Yeah. Here, you get to actually feel it through your body before the healing process happens, and then say the things that you will never be able to say because there's consequences to that, and you destroy relationships you don't need to destroy. But we're playing a game here. We're just having fun. So you get to feel it in your body. You get to say these things out loud, and you get to say to the person that you're never going to be able to do this in real life.
And you let it literally move through you.
And it moves through you in the most incredibly. We've watched it in classes so many times. Like people get.
Oh my God, so many.
And we have and then we have a couple of examples of people
like.
but because this is a person who came in who is a nurse and wanted to be an actor. And remember at the beginning.
Shout out to you.
Super well, and for me the biggest wins are these as well, because here she is. I want to do this. I don't know what, and then it comes to class and you do this entire work, and then you see where they start with like the desire and the not knowing how to move the puzzles or the game, to actually achieve that. And now, not even a year and a half, 2 years later, she's moving to New York.
I know.
And he's going to audition for this school, which is an acting, like a very famous acting school. We prepared her for that. And she got into the school with golden, like boom, like this, moving away where she wouldn't be even able to, like both her feet were kind of like on the ground with, nailed.
Yeah.
And the pain you watch like this. And this is this is empowered woman that is going now to the next step of her life.
Totally.
Created one thing after the next that made her come into a comfortable spot where she actually will be able to more. It's incredible.
It is incredible.
And then, like, in your situation, if I may share.
Yeah, go for it.
Jess came in and it was like, okay, we're going to work on acting and so forth. And my goal with you was for you to find the love for you and then eventually have a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And
I was coming off of a breakup with somebody for a few years.
Yeah. And it was a tough one because it was an important one to you.
Mm-hmm.
And I won't get you off the hook.
That's it. Yeah, that's fine. You can say whatever you want.
It was, it's mostly like finding the way to make this human believe that they're worthy, finding a way to believe that you came here with one fingerprint and it cannot be anybody else's. It is yours only. You can't be somebody else or somebody else try to be you. That's just like, and that's what we're coached to do since we're very tiny. And we actually go back in this technique and then find these what do they call them, like the phobias that we have
and the misbeliefs and right, limiting beliefs. Yeah,
we just kind of like celebrate them, really.
Yeah, it is.
And then we crush them because they don't serve you. And you get to do this on your feet playing with your friends, And Jess came in and was like, no, it's like, I'm never going to be together with anybody. Screw it. And it's like, I don't trust anybody. This man, this and that, da. And then you were gone for a little bit.
Yeah, I was in and out a little bit, but yeah.
And you came back. I'll never forget that moment. You came back and you were sitting at the very end over there. I walk into the room in the studio and you were like this. Your aura and everything was something I've never seen. And I just remember looking at you and he goes like, I'm in.
Yeah, right. And it like, I got my heart opened up again.
Yeah.
And it opened up to me and it opened up to be able to let other people in but also like kind of standing in my own worth.
Yeah, it's exactly. Now, I sometimes I don't like using these word boundaries because boundaries define so many things that can be harming.
Well, they're not supposed to be walls. They're supposed to be like, I would just did a post on this, like where I end and you begin, it's supposed to be like a conversation and they can move and they can flow. But yes, I definitely
feel okay with standing in the space that you stand in.
Right. Like, but I did need some protection in a sense, but also not walls to keep people out.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. And the protection is, I mean, of course you don't want to get hurt. But
it was knowing the protection was like me knowing who I was no matter what.
Exactly. And you always think about what is self-worth, and people say it's like you read all these books and there's so much material around and so much podcasts, internet, movies, empowering this, empowering that. But for me, self-worth is when you come in the space of complete freedom. Like you can tell me anything and I will listen and say, okay, I get it. Doesn't mean anything. There is no desire, not desire, but there's no need for me to judge it, to justify it, to be against it. You live in this I, and I live in this I, and we together live together in this symbiotic world of love, practically. And I know, like sometimes I get like really as this word, and empowerment too is another word that it's used and misused and
overused.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's that moment where you can sit with you and then little you. I'm going to share something about little you in a second, which actually has been a transformational moment for me in my work, even so long with Ivanna since 2019, being with her. Since we're on the subject, maybe I should just say it. I we work in this technique also. Let's say we work with our loved ones and our parents. And now as adults, we rationalize everything. When my mom was so, she worked hard and 7 jobs and this and that and all.
And almost minimize
things. We always minimize the effect that they have done. We're adults now. We forgiving away.
We don't want to talk bad about them.
We're guilt, right? All that stuff. But in this technique, what we always point at is like, you are talking to them from the little girl and the little boy. Always. When the little boy and the little girl didn't understand why mommy decided to leave daddy and go to somebody else. For me, it's like I did something wrong. I'm a bad kid. And I'm going to share this story. Like for me, for example, I was, this is something that not many people know. My students know because I share a lot about myself, but the world doesn't. So I was 4 or 5 years old, and then I was brought home by a man who lived a couple of houses down the road from us. And I don't think I have to say anything more than that. I think this is self-explanatory what the deal was.
So you were taken.
I was taken. Exactly.
Okay.
And when I was brought back, for years, I very, very vividly remember the moment where we were in in our bedroom, because we were like 9 people living in a small apartment. And one bedroom was my family's bedroom. So I had a brother and a mom and dad. And there's like a big bed in between, and my dad was on the other side pacing back and forth, and my mom was on the bed like crying, convulsing, and I was here against the closet, right? And
you had been gone, and you were
I'd been gone and just brought back, right? And there was never a question to this person, like what, why, when. And the story apparently has it, for years I've known this, that I had gone to kindergarten. They dropped me in, which is like literally the backyard of our apartment. And I had kidnapped another child, gone all the way to the next neighborhood, this big. Nobody said anything. Nobody stopped anybody. Nobody, nothing. Got on a bus. And I have gone on to the 3 neighborhoods up with the bus, like several stops. And this guy found me suddenly. And so there was never a question about my parents, like.
So they were saying to say that you left school at 4 years old?
Then I kidnapped another child. So the kindergarten people, nobody said anything. Nobody like inquired. Nobody searched. There's no police, nothing, And then I've gone like walked all the way to the bus stop, which is far, gotten on a bus. At 4. And it was never an inquiry. And my parents...
Which obviously did not happen, obviously.
My parents have told me, and maybe believe this story, until probably, as I say, maybe 5 years ago, not even. Oh, when I started working actually with this technique mostly, which was one of my, yeah. So, but the impact that had now brought me to a complete unfulfilled life was, I'm a bad girl. I hurt my mother. So, consequence of that for me is my word doesn't mean anything. For the rest of my life, I've done nothing else but fight to be heard, and to be heard more than to be seen, to be heard. And then what is the consequence of that? I've ruined most of my relationships because I start, like
you're already on the defense.
On a defense, yeah. It's like I'm right, and this is what it is. You have to hear that I have my word has value. You have to listen to what I have, and then you push people away. It's like for years. And the other portion of that was I became the massive people pleaser because I hurt mom.
Of course.
And when I think about it, so I get a little verklempt. You don't want to hurt mom. And as a little kid, I am a bad child who hurt mom. And for the rest of my life, I'm going to have to take care of that. And every single human being in my relationships have been that example. Which self-worth, bye. And
this is like, but it's like, for me, when I hear you share that, and thank you for sharing that, I think that's going to help a lot of people find, that they're not alone in that, and that there are ways to move through it with grace. But it's like how innocent, right? And the fractures in our worth can start so much earlier than we think. And I think you said it brilliantly in here, and even in talking about the technique, is like, you know, this is something that will affect how we rise as humans, how we elevate, how we step into the world, how we succeed, how we choose partners, how we love, how we have a happy, joyful life that we deserve. I loved your definition of self-worth as well, the freedom, and that we all deserve that. And yet your freedom was hijacked at 4 years old.
And
as
a million other times thereafter, right? And we just learn to kind of be resilient about it and survive and try to, we either survive something or we're trying to fix something. But there's nothing there to survive or fix. That's not living, right?
That's not living, that's survival, right? So you feel that you kind of were able to address a lot of this through the technique and having it.
Yes. And that another thing I'm going to mention, which has been a real pain for me, which is very recent. I've struggled a lot with liking that little girl.
Ooh. Yeah.
And I did not realize, so, and it's reflected in my work, my acting work, and I see it in others, but so difficult to see it in yourself. That's why, thank you, Ivanna Chubbuck. But and it's been so weird to look at the picture of myself as a little girl and have such hate and not knowing how I can be so, and then again, it's like I'm evil, I'm bad, reflect straight back to those times, right? And people have million stories like this to share, and they're not able to share and to share in an environment, an environment where they don't feel alone. Because, and here in the classes, you get to share it, you get to see it, you get to cry over it, you get to yell over it, you get to cuss over it, whatever that need is. And I've been dealing for this last 3 weeks with this, and then I write and I do like all the things that like a therapist will tell you to do, and it's just not. But it helps because progressively all this work kind of goes into each other, and it's very helpful, about therapy and other things that people find valuable for that.
Sure, of course.
But to be able to be on my feet, and I'm literally doing a scene right now where I am. My scene objective is get my mother to fix the relationship with the little girl in me. And it's so cathartic and so awesome, and it triggers you in saying words that you're saying in the script, just like that. It just comes up. People like always say, oh, great actors because they can cry in commando. Sorry guys to break the news, but no. In real life, nobody does that.
And it's the feeling that evokes it.
And it's that we're in a moment where we can't overcome either a pain or something that is really bothering us, and that's why the tears just pop out.
Yep, and that was that first memory I have of having that technique work back in when I was in the school. It was like all of a sudden this well of emotion came up because I had done the work, and then they rubbed on that, with the scene and the lines that we were sharing, and it just came up so organically, so real, so authentically, and it was so deep. And it was like, whoa, where did that come from?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I knew, but it was like, it was actually coming up. Yeah.
Sometimes I have I had an actor, which I, in our class, and he had gotten the monologue, and then I have redirected him to do oh, by the way, when I say redirecting, I don't direct. We don't do it.
Yes.
We, ask questions and get the actors to figure it out so they can make it more effective for themselves and obviously for the character. And when he finished this monologue, he sat down and he said, who the heck was that? And everyone in the class was like, wow, but the best part of this technique is then you go wow, I felt like this. And as a result, yes, I had so much fun.
It is. And that is exactly it. Well, I was thinking as you're speaking, it's like, I think we talk a lot about, what we go through, especially early on, and where that goes, all that trauma gets stored. I mean, there's books written about it, the issues are in the tissues, and, the body keeps a score and all that. And I think there's something about play and that I love. That's what I love about acting. I think of it as play. and joy and creativity, but it's like the physicality of moving it out, whether it's through speaking, crying, sharing, something with another person or the group, or I think that's what was so powerful for me, is literally just like moving the body, in the way, and letting it move through you, the trauma, the limiting belief, the sadness, the loneliness, whatever it is, the joy.
Yeah. No, it seemed valuable completely. I have never found anything so powerful, and I guess that's why I fell in love with it the way I did, and also so organically with it too, because it gave the opportunity to not take it serious. It's like, oh, I'm just having fun here. Let's play, and then you're in a safe environment where you can. And especially when people like do it for a little while, and let themselves like time to actually become comfortable and trust even your peers and so forth.
Oh, totally.
And to even often, like, we don't push anybody to do anything because it's quite triggering. But the fact that you're sitting in the back and you see somebody else open up and somebody courageous for you, then it gives the permission also to the person that doesn't want to quite like open immediately to go ahead and say, okay, I can say this much more than what I said yesterday. I can do this much more than what I said. And
what do you do when, I mean, I could say I know what you do. What do you, but I want you to answer is like, what do you do when you have a student, again, maybe they're newer or they're just holding back, right? How do you, you say, because you don't direct, you're not telling anybody what to do. That's not what this is about. But how do you get that out of them? Like you said, other than, that is a good point, their peers, giving them permission by doing it. But how do you as a coach?
So that's, first of all, because the classes are structured this way, that you go up and you have your 30 minutes to do a scene with it. So we rework it and so forth, and sit down and watch everybody else. Super valuable to watch everybody else and see, to kind of like, you start going like, oh, I didn't think about that. Oh, that's me too. And so forth. So then gives the opportunity to the student to kind of like filter that on their own without being uncomfortable or being put on the spot. And then I need to figure out what happens. Like if the person is closed in, I need to figure out what happens. And they have opportunities to be alone with me. So we go in a room next door and ask, okay, so what is there something you want to share with me? Do you kind of, something comes up for you through the work, and then do you want to share it? Because I immediately see like, okay, what happened in this particular dialogue sentence that you said, like what happened here, what were you feeling, what was happening, but something was going on. No, I don't want to say anything, I don't want to share. And this happens in master classes too. It's
and is it okay for them to not?
It's okay for them not to share, absolutely 100%. And for them to take their own time, and there's the two ways we do this. They can, if they feel comfortable with me, we go into the next room, and then I can. Okay. So I will come back, and I will never compromise what they said to me, but find a way to maneuver through, to get them to feel it and be able to kind of execute it. We also have exercises that we do. They're written, and in those exercises, you're on your own by yourself. I guide it at the beginning, and I guide it as many times as the student wants me to guide them through it. It's just questions that are being said with a specific prompt, and then you get to write. And we are going to touch the
emotional diary. Is that what it is? Yes,
emotional diary, correct. So we are accessing the subconscious at that point,
and that's them or the student writing out in a way, almost like a freehand kind of thing.
It's almost it's like you like a Harry Potter pen. You're like that. There we call it, and then we let.
And that's to trigger
to discover things that because usually what's happened, you remember this, we always control, we want to control because we don't want to.
Thinking too much. Yeah.
Thinking, we're controlling what we're writing, and this is, the whole entire exercise is made on purpose in a way where it's like the moment you start controlling, you have to like toss the whole thing and start.
Yeah.
And I am hawking on this, like you're doing it. I'm
rip
seeing
the page out.
Rip the page out, do it again. And then I look at everybody, and then I can see like, okay, they're really struggling with this. It's not getting anywhere.
Yeah.
Then I have ways to kind of take them around it and so forth. Or you find that you see the student writing, and my personal story is about it, and maybe that would be a good share. Ivanna would like on top of me all the time. It's like so scary, this is, you're not doing it right. It's not the right way. It's not doing it right. And I went home. I went home and I was so stubborn and I was like, I'm going to win over this. And I wrote so the emotional diary is much longer than the previous, when we're looking for substitution, possibly somebody to work with that we don't know.
You're really taking that initial step.
Yeah. That's the first part of, if you're looking for somebody, we don't know the substitution. Who do we need this from in our lives? So we have a prompt and exercise to figure that out. Once we figure that out, now we have to find the life and what is it that the whole entire detail about it that was going to go into the script, and then the other steps of that are further down in 4, right? When you see people write, so my personal story, right? I swear to God, I was there for 4 hours. Nothing will come up. And I'm angry and I'm screaming these pages and I'm like, cussing and everything. It's like, drive me insane.
Oh, yeah.
I went to bed and because I was committed, I'm going to conquer this. So I got up the morning after. And usually this is the exercise where nothing comes up in the first 4 pages. You got to write maybe 10, 15 or whatever. And as I'm writing, thinking, like controlling this entire thing, thinking that this is what it is, this is the person I know, this is what it is. In the middle of all this, literally my body went like this, like I couldn't breathe. And it was so deep. I don't even, like, I'm stuttering because I can't even describe what this was about. But the discovery was so visceral and so, it was beautiful. I'm like, great, I can use this now. It became...
Was it something new that was buried for you?
Because of that, because of like justifying everything today, the way we justify to rationalize it as adults.
You're not, it's a way of just, what do they call it? Like spiritual bypassing, kind of, where you're just like, oh, whatever, that happened. I'm fine.
I live it. It's like whatever. Like Ivanna says, your adult brain suck as an artist.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
She makes this example about the little kid that looks as a box. I mean, you observe little kids all the time. You know, it's like that's actually the great thing that I always tell actors. That's your best lesson. Go and watch small kids.
Yeah, play,
and they look at a box and they create. This is my spaceship, and this is my airplane, and this is going to be my boat or my house or I don't know, whatever, like my farm, whatever they come up with. And we sit and look at a box. And I'm like, oh, Jess, it's just the box.
It's so funny that you say that, because I say the same thing about worthiness with kids. It's like watching, I always reference, lately it's been my goddaughter, like in the mirror, naked, just like dancing. Oh my, we were just, Kemper and I were just looking at like a couple years ago video of her when she's still the same way, but and I watched so many of my kids grow, like my little nieces and nephews grow up, but they're so free. There's that freedom again, like, right? It's just like creative, but like accepting and in love with themselves and having nothing but joy, fun, exploration.
And how do they go after what they want?
No shame in their game.
Any cost.
Yeah.
They do it. And that's why we try to get in this technique as well, go back to that time, but now as an adult, without having the rationalized mind that is always in your way.
Yeah. Totally.
And it's like, if I want to, like, I'm whatever years old you are, and then I'm going to lay on the ground and I'm going to like throw a tantrum about it. And it's like, I'm going to do it. And it's awesome to watch an adult do that, actually.
You got to do it. Oh my God, it's so brilliant. So what do you think your biggest, takeaway is from the technique itself on a personal level?
Oh, like insane transformation of self-worth. It's incredible of how, and because it's kind of like, it's very selfish. We kind of like use that word and it's like, oh, your choices are not selfish enough. This is not, your scene objective you're not going out after it's selfish enough. And people like get really triggered by this. So I've had to work really hard with that because of that moment of like people pleasing, because I mean, everything you do is like, it's like, okay, well, that's what happened and that's how it is, but I'm okay.
Right. Well, and also it's like, yes, and it's not what happened. What happened to you wasn't your fault, right? And it may not have been your fault, but it's your responsibility now.
That's exactly, and that's where we
to do stuff, to live your life, right?
That's where like you figure out what it is, we together do it, and now I'm like, I have to be responsible. That's where the famous death sentence that we talk about, like if I don't get it, I'm gonna die, and like not literally die, but like
those are the
metaphoric. Yes, I pay mistakes. It's like, I don't want to live like this anymore. I don't want to be in pain. I want to suffer, and I don't want to be insecure. I want to be free. I want to love this. I want to love this little girl, and I want to be, because each and every human being in this world has incredible value, but we are not taught to believe in it. Okay, we are not
enough.
Inspired, taught, empowered, groomed.
In fact, we're meant to question it
all the time
and believe it's not enough. There's not enough, right?
All the time.
But I know
when every individual is the most brilliant thing that ever came to this earth, and we just have to get there to believe it. And I think the biggest takeaway is that I am free. I clumped up that as well, because the struggle is real, and to be able to be in an environment where you can say that, there's just no price for it.
Yeah.
And we get to play.
So underrated, that word.
We get to play. And the one thing that we also do that Ivanna always inspired is the community afterwards. And we have a community spread all over the world. I can often I've been like, I'm stuck with this thing, and I pick up the phone or send a text, and there you go. The person is on the other side immediately to help.
That's very cool.
And then we always have to, we do all this difficult work, and then we go out and hang.
I love it so much. I'm like, what I love in this conversation too, and just knowing you, is just your passion for not only, well, obviously what it has done for you, but you get to share that.
Yes.
Right. And you do it in such an amazing way, and you bring such compassion and support and fun and joy to these classes. You really do. How does it feel to be able to share it?
I don't think I have words to express it, because the moment I go back into what we used to, I have one class with my students, or one moment with an actor, and it's like, thank you. Because it's like, thank you for giving me back, because they're the ones who give me the confidence back too. They're the ones who empower me to be, if it wasn't for you guys, I would never be able to do this one, and two, would never be able to grow together, and never be able to be empowered the way I have been through this work.
I hear you.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, thank you. And I feel the same way doing this podcast. It's like I can walk through life and slip back into the doubts and slip back into negative self-talk or whatever it is, and then you do these and you have these conversations. You're like, oh right, this is what we're supposed to be doing, and you're just it's been incredible.
Yeah.
So future plans, where can we find you now? So I know you had a brand new space.
I know.
It's so exciting.
So good.
It's very exciting. Long overdue. Okay,
right.
so, and you kind of reformatted a little bit, or what you're offering in the class to structure. So I'm going to let you go on that.
So we have a brand new website that's coming up. I am hoping it's almost done. So I'm hoping that by next week, my tech department is going to actually launch it. By mistake, has been opened.
Oh.
And then immediately people somehow found it and then started
the website.
So it's working. It's great. I love it. So that is going to feature also every single class that we're offering. There are now, what I have learned throughout the process at the beginning when we started, and then taking this small break to kind of revamp the studio, is that I want to give the opportunity to regular people to experience this. I've been asked 1 million times, oh, is this really just for actors?
That was going to be your next question of mine.
No, it's not.
Okay.
But I do have, so there will be, so we are launching practically a 6-week course for anybody through the Chubbuck Technique, and we're going to go through what we mentioned here, and then you get to play and you get to have fun.
It's important to have that time. I think.
And then there's a time frame to that, the 6 weeks, and after that there's an opportunity then to continue to another batch of classes, which is going to be an 8 week, and then eventually move on to longer than that. But it's always structured into chunks, correct? They will be. This is actually for anybody who wants to try acting. You don't have to be an actor. You don't have to be somebody you may have experience from before. You also can be an actor who maybe dropped for a while, and in your dream just, I want to come back and play.
Yes.
Anybody that has also done another technique, maybe when they were younger in high school or whatnot. This is brand new for everybody who is in this town, unless you have done the Chubbuck technique with somebody else who is accredited. Let me just say that. Very important, because this is a dangerous. It can be dangerous to go and thread on places. I read the book and I'm now a coach about it. It's much more than that. So be very careful if you go with anybody. Make sure that they are accredited in this technique.
And you can hear how much work and training went into you becoming
and
being able to teach her. And not to mention you're in class every week. Yeah.
I am in class. And then the best thing is that we have Ivanna still alive. Anybody else is really passed away from the big gurus from the past. Some are still in New York that do different things, obviously. And then again, So that's the for anybody. And this is for adults. I have one class that is opening for homeschoolers. Anybody that is homeschooled, and they have the opportunity to join a 12-week program. It's called Unscripted, and we are going to be.
What is the age range for that?
That is 14 to 18, and we are going to. Actually, sorry about that, 13 to 18, and that we're going to be doing our own material writing. I'm going to be introducing other things and other like physical work and improv and other things that we do combined with writing our own material and then eventually performing that. By the way, the 6-week class and the 8-week class also will have a small. You can invite your friends and come and see, and then we have a glass of wine. Maybe
we're gonna have a party.
Yeah, have a party. Yeah, yes. And this is all about community being together and having fun, right? The homeschooling program is twice a week, and there's during the week because the homeschoolers have more ability to.
That's a great idea.
Exactly, and avoid traffic also. So I have also taken that in consideration that people may be coming from different places.
And this is locally here in Miami. Where is the studio located again?
The studio is located
or city. Yeah,
it's in Miami, and it's by the Miami airport on the I think west side of it, and it's a beautiful building. We have our self-styled building that is called the Sea High Art House, and it's a gated area, and on top there are all suites with artists. And then we have a humongous artist on the bottom that I will hook up with all their information, so you guys want to see them and hang with them as well. So that's also a great thing. Also, back to the classes. So we have a Saturday class that will open for an experimental now for youth. Again, it's going to be 13 to 18 because that on the weekends and all that on in school, so have the opportunity to come and hang with us and play. And there is a class that is for working actors only, and that is a whole entire month introduction to the Chubbuck technique, and eventually they can move into we're funneling. That's my pride and joy. We have a performing arts company that is being formed, and the performing arts company also you will be able to read on the site about like what it is and what we stand for requirements. And we will be able to funnel people who are really interested in pursuing this a little bit further, a little bit more intense, and funneling that into a company where the company is not a performing oriented company, but it's a process oriented company.
Okay.
So we will be rehearsing a lot, creating our own stuff or doing somebody else's stuff, like when you playwrights or whatever. That is both on theater and film. So we're going to be doing that. It was always my dream to be able to combine the two. And it's going to be our own performing arts company. And eventually what I'm looking into the long run is to start making exchange programs with Europe. I am originally from there.
Yes.
I want to have a lot of input from companies from there, and then we exchange. And for the people who are more devoted and want to stay in the technique, my goal is to eventually prepare them for us to go to Los Angeles and have workshops with Ivanna directly.
Amazing.
Master workshops with her. And that is just for the people who really want to be committed to the work.
And we'll put all of this, like the information. What is the website? I'll put it in the notes of the podcast.
It's www.tcherkinstudio.com. It's spelled TCHERKIN studio.com.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I have a few final questions
Yes.
for you. So what do you, I loved like how we touched on a little bit of this younger self and the younger one in all of us. Like, what would you want little Violet to know now? Well, I know with all this beautiful work you've done to support her.
That's not fair. That she's not only loved but protected, and what that little heart was, and it's always been, will be now featured everywhere, and will be her little heart will be held inside of my little hands, and will never be broken again.
So beautiful.
Yeah. Sorry.
Sorry, I should have tissues at this point.
Tissues, right?
Yeah.
And I want that for darn everybody.
I know you do.
Because the pain that we have, that I have endured myself, and I see in people all the time, it's like there is a way to get out.
Well, it's
And
you're lighting
earned it.
But you're lighting that way for others, you know? I mean, like you said about, giving permission. It's like you sharing, you being vulnerable, you being open, you seeking some sort of support and outlet for all of that is now providing that for others to heal.
I can't believe that I've been blessed with this, actually. So it's like like a gift of life. Your whole life you're searching for something, and it's like, wow, now it's been given to me the opportunity to do this. So I'm extremely blessed and grateful.
Yeah, me too. What do you think your superpower is?
Ooh. Okay, I actually have an answer to this.
Okay, I'm excited.
Because my child, who is my biggest win, I asked me these questions years ago, and for years I was not able to answer it. And my superpower is to take pain away from people.
Wow. That is a superpower.
So
definitely.
I'm committed to the superpower, and I've been blessed enough to know that I've been able to do it.
Love that. What about a quote or a motto that you live by? Would you like something come to mind?
I've always for years said always like, don't forget to smile. Motto to heal. It's just to I think maybe for me it's always been a mission to unite people through their stories, and to mutually understand that we are one and the same, and the incredible value of each fingerprint.
Yeah.
And live with the endless curiosity, in awe and wonder, with the childhood, through the child's eyes. I wrote, I share this now that it just comes to mind. I wrote a one-man show years ago, which I have been asked a million times to revamp and do it again. And I think that might be the time now. It's been close to 20 years, actually. And my show ends with a little girl. Now that I'm thinking about it, I never thought about this until now, actually.
Happens here.
It does happen here. This space is amazing. And it literally ends with the video, a projection of this little girl that looks just like me when I was younger. We came here to love and not to kill. And the eyes of truth are always watching you. That was the last sentence of my one-man show, actually, with the picture of this little girl.
That's so beautiful.
So maybe I should just get it back.
Yeah. I was my final question is, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years or so, 10 years in business, or just you?
Yeah, no, for the business, it's all for the business, for the studio itself, because I really like, it is a business, but more like I look at it as a place to be, to heal and so forth. It's like, I'd love to be able to have given this opportunity to hundreds of people, and then have created a team that can contribute with their own talents and then create an incredible arts collective. For myself, I will be on screen.
That's right.
That's the dream. The dream is, it's not like, oh, I'm gonna like get out, and it's just I will be there. I've been there and I'll be there again. And 10 years from now, I've always been, actually, people always ask you, like, what did you do from the age of, like, that you remember very well, that you're, like, infatuated doing from, like, 4 till 8 or whatever. I used to produce. I used to gather everybody from the neighborhood up in the mountains and write and do all that, like, everything, like from sets to designing the clothing and putting makeup on and writing the story and putting the seed down and making this tree grow.
Literally everything.
And then invite everybody to come see. So that is the ultimate goal.
I love that. I can see it happening for you for sure. Oh, Violet, I'm so grateful that you came on and talked to us today. I'm so grateful that you're in my life and that I made that phone call. That one day, I just want to reflect back that it feels like you're in alignment with your purpose. And it has given me permission to, like, own what is mine as well. And I really wouldn't be sitting here if I hadn't spent time with you. This is kind of a culmination of a lot of the work we did. So thank you for being the light for me.
Thank you. And I have no words to really back up on that, but it's nice to hear, and I hear it often, and I need to learn to really hear it.
Receive it. I love you.
I love you too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for listening, for watching. We'll see you on the next episode.
Bye, guys.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Worthy the Podcast. Our goal is to build a community, and we do that through people like you who listen, subscribe, and most importantly, share with someone you care about. Be sure to follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're listening, as well as our YouTube channel. And if this episode resonated with you, leave a review. We want to hear from you. Thanks for being here, and remember, you've always been enough. Period. This podcast is meant to inspire and educate, but I am not a licensed therapist or medical professional. Everything shared here is based on personal experience and perspective, so take what resonates and leave the rest.